They say revenge is a dish best served cold. I prefer mine served at exactly 85 degrees with no air conditioning and a side of complete humiliation. I'm Andy Stone, 48 years old, and I own the Iron Bay Resort on the Texas Gulf Coast. Built this place from nothing after 20 years in the Army and another decade climbing the hotel management ladder. When people ask how I made it work, I tell them it's simple. Treat your people right, keep your standards high, and never let anyone disrespect what you've built. That Tuesday morning started like any other. I was in my office overlooking the main lobby when Monica, my events director, walked in with that look. You know the one. The look that says someone wants to release trained dolphins in the ballroom and thinks it's a reasonable request. "Andy," she said, dropping a thick folder on my desk, "we've got a booking request for the Grand Ballroom, full buyout for Labor Day weekend. They want the platinum package, and they're bringing their own wedding cake." I didn't even look up from my laptop. Denied. "We have a pastry chef who trained in Paris. No outside food." "That's the thing," Monica said, tapping the folder. "It's a corporate booking through Pinnacle Marketing Strategies. But the writer mentions a bridal suite for Miss Jessica Crawford and a groom's suite for Mr. Lance Vance." Jessica Crawford. The name hit me like a sniper's bullet. Clean, precise, and completely unexpected. 7 years ago, Jessica and I were business partners. We ran a catering company together, built it from scratch. We were also engaged, planning our own wedding when she decided that our small-time operation was limiting her potential. She dissolved our LLC behind my back, took the client list, and left me with the debt while she started her marketing firm with money from her new boyfriend, some tech investor she'd been seeing on the side. I took a slow breath, keeping my voice steady. "Monica, I know this name. Pinnacle Strategies is Jessica's company." Monica frowned. "Your ex-partner? The one who screwed me over?" "Yeah." I opened the folder. The contract was standard except for one thing. The primary contact wasn't Jessica. It was listed under their CFO, some guy named Garrett Wilson. They were hiding behind a corporate booking to avoid personal association. Here's where most people would ask why I didn't just decline the booking. Simple answer. Because declining would let them win too easy. They'd just go to the Marriott down the road, have their perfect day, and never know how close they came to stepping in quicksand. I had a better idea. "Monica," I said, standing up and walking to the window. Down below, my staff was working like a well-oiled machine. "Approve the booking. Send them the welcome package. Are you sure about this?" I smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind of smile I used to get before a mission briefing. "I'm positive, but I want to be listed as the operations consultant for the event. No guest-facing paperwork with my name. I want to be invisible." 2 weeks later, the happy couple arrived for their walkthrough. I made sure I was nowhere near the front desk. Instead, I positioned myself in the ballroom wearing standard hotel staff clothing, black shirt, black pants, and a name tag that read Andy, Operations. No title, no authority, just another worker bee. I was checking sound equipment when the doors opened and in they walked. Jessica looked exactly the same. Sharp business suit, that calculating look in her eyes like she was mentally pricing everything in the room. She was on her phone, naturally. Then there was Lance. If Jessica was corporate ice, Lance was tech bro fire, mid-20s, designer everything, and that specific kind of arrogance that comes from making money you didn't earn. He walked into my ballroom like he owned it. "It's smaller than the photo suggested," Lance announced, his voice echoing off the vaulted ceiling. Monica, who was leading the tour, kept her professional smile locked in place. "Actually, Mr. Vance, this room accommodates 300 comfortably. For your guest count of 180, it will feel quite spacious." "I don't want spacious," Lance snapped. "I want impressive. Jessica, get off the phone. Your employee here doesn't understand the vision." Jessica lowered her phone but didn't put it away. "Lance, it's investors. The Q3 numbers need—" "I don't care about your numbers right now. This place needs to scream success, not suburban mediocrity." I stood near the service entrance, clipboard in hand, watching. This was the moment of truth. Would Jessica recognize me? We'd lived together for 3 years, planned a life together. Her eyes swept over me like I was a piece of furniture. No recognition. I'd cut my hair short, military style, since our breakup. Added some gray to the temples. But still, to be looked at and not seen by someone who supposedly loved you once, that stings. It also made me dangerous. Monica gestured toward me. This is Andy from our operations team. He'll ensure everything runs smoothly. Lance barely glanced at me. Whatever. Just make sure your people stay out of the way during photos. That's when I saw him. Our doorman, Wyatt Murphy, 67 years old, Marine Corps veteran, worked for me since day one. He was helping set up chairs, moving slowly because his knees gave him trouble. Souvenir from Fallujah. Lance noticed him too. "Hey," Lance called out. "Old man, those chairs are crooked." Wyatt looked up, confusion on his weathered face. "Sir? The chairs. They're not aligned. Are you blind or just lazy?" I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Wyatt straightened up, dignity intact despite the insult. "I'll fix that right away, sir. You should have fixed it right the first time," Lance said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Jessica, why is your venue employing old deadweight? This guy's moving like he's underwater." Jessica didn't even look up from her phone. "Sir," I said, stepping forward, keeping my voice level. "Mr. Murphy is our most experienced—" "I wasn't talking to you," Lance cut me off. "I was talking to the decision makers. You people need to understand your place in this operation. Your place." Those two words hung in the air like smoke from a muzzle flash. Wyatt's face went red, but he kept working. 24 years protecting this country, and some punk kid was calling him dead weight. In my house. I looked at Jessica, hoping for some sign that she'd step in, show basic human decency. She was typing on her phone, completely checked out. "Of course, sir," I said quietly. "We'll make sure everything meets your standards." Lance smirked. "Good. At least someone here gets it." As they finished the tour and left, I watched Wyatt slowly straightening chairs that were already perfectly aligned. Monica came over to me, her face flushed with anger. "I hate them," she said quietly. "Can we charge them a fee for being awful human beings?" "We're going to do better than that," I said, pulling out my phone. "Get me Garrett on the line." Garrett's my lawyer, former JAG officer. When I called him, I could hear him already pulling files. "Andy, tell me you're not about to do something that gets us sued." "I'm about to enforce our contract," I said. "Pull up the Pinnacle booking, check the signatory on the deposit. It's Garrett Wilson, their CFO, corporate account." "Right. Wedding receptions are personal events, not business functions. They booked it as a corporate retreat to get the business rate. That's fraud, which violates our commercial use policy. Andy, we could just cancel now, refund the deposit minus penalties." "No." I was pacing my office now. "If I cancel now, Lance spins it. Says the bitter ex-partner sabotaged their love story. I become the villain. He gets to play victim again." I stopped at the window, looking down at Wyatt helping guests with their bags despite everything. "I need him to hang himself," I said. "I need a clear violation of our conduct policies while the event is happening." "Have you met Lance Vance?" Garrett sighed. "You're waiting for him to screw up during the wedding itself. He called a Marine veteran deadweight, Garrett. He's going to treat my staff like servants, and when he does, I'm going to show him what happens when you declare war on the wrong battlefield." The wedding day arrived with Texas heat and humidity thick enough to choke on. The ballroom looked spectacular, I had to admit. White roses, soft lighting, a jazz quartet playing covers that probably cost more than most people's cars. I positioned myself near the bar, wearing a dark suit that let me blend with the catering staff. Lance was holding court by an ice sculpture shaped like the Pinnacle Company logo, subtle as a brick through a window. He was laughing too loud, drinking too much, gesturing wildly while talking about crypto investments. Jessica moved through the room like she was conducting a performance review, not celebrating her wedding. She wasn't smiling at guests. She was checking camera angles. 7:30 p.m. Dinner service was starting. This was the danger zone in any high-end event. One wrong move and the whole evening falls apart. Wyatt was helping clear appetizer plates. We were short-staffed due to a flu outbreak, so everyone was pitching in. He was carrying a tray of empty champagne flutes when Lance spun around, nearly colliding with him. Wyatt stopped instantly, balancing the tray with practiced skill. "Pardon me, sir." Lance looked down at his designer tuxedo like checking for damage. There was nothing there, not even a wrinkle. "Watch where you're going," Lance snapped. "You almost ruined a $5,000 tux with your clumsiness." "My apologies, sir," Wyatt said, lowering his head. "Don't apologize," Lance said, his voice carrying over the jazz music. "Be competent. The help is everywhere tonight. It's like an infestation." Infestation. He called my people, my Marines, my veterans, my family, an infestation. I took a step forward, my hand tightening around my water glass. Not yet. Let him finish digging. Jessica approached, putting a hand on Lance's arm. Baby, relax. Everything's fine. It's not fine, Jessica. The staff is incompetent. Look at this guy. He's ancient. Why is your venue hiring fossils? I walked over to a nearby table, table 7, occupied by some of Lance's crypto buddies. I sat down for a moment, adjusting my cufflink, blending in. A server passed with beef tenderloin sliders. I took one, put it on a small plate. Quality control, you understand. Lance swept past the table, heading for the head table. He saw me sitting there, saw me eating. He stopped. He looked at me, a man in a dark suit eating his food. He didn't recognize me as the operations guy from the walkthrough. To him, I was just staff who'd gotten too comfortable. Excuse me, he said, his voice dripping with disdain. I looked up, chewing slowly. Yes? He reached down and literally took the plate from my hands. Staff, he said, loud enough for the whole table to hear, eat in the kitchen. The table went silent. His crypto friends looked uncomfortable. Jessica, standing 10 feet away, turned around. For a second, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Recognition, maybe, or just confusion. Lance, Jessica said weakly, let's go sit down. Lance glared at me. Do your job. Get out of the guest area. You're ruining the aesthetic. He turned and walked away, handing my plate to a passing server. Trash this. I sat there for exactly 3 seconds. In those 3 seconds, I thought about the last 7 years, the bankruptcy hearings, the nights I slept in my car because I couldn't afford rent, the way I built this place brick by brick to be a place of hospitality and respect. And this kid, this tourist in my life, just told me to eat in the kitchen. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I stood up, smoothed my suit jacket, placed my napkin on the table perfectly folded. I looked at Lance, who was guiding Jessica to their throne. He was smiling, probably thinking he'd just put some uppity employee in his place. Time for him to learn otherwise. I walked toward the service exit. Monica was standing by the door, eyes wide. She'd seen the whole thing. Andy, she whispered, are you okay? I stopped, looked at her. My face must have been something to see because she actually took a step back. Monica, I said quietly, execute Protocol 0. Protocol 0? But that's for emergencies, fires, hurricanes. This is a hurricane, I said, pushing through the swinging doors. Category 5, named Lance. Shut it down. I walked into the kitchen. The noise hit me immediately. Clattering pans, shouting cooks, the organized chaos of dinner service. Everyone stop, I said. It wasn't a shout, it was a command. 20 years of military bearing in those 2 words. The kitchen went dead silent. Set down your tools, I said. Turn off the ovens. We're done for tonight. My head chef, Shane, stepped forward. Andy, the main course. The salmon is firing now. The salmon is canceled, I said. Staff eat in the kitchen. So tonight, let's eat. I grabbed a bottle of champagne from the service refrigerator, popped the cork with my thumb, and took a long drink. You have 15 minutes to pack up, I told the room. We're closing the hotel. There's a specific kind of silence that falls over a kitchen when the ventilation hoods shut down. It presses against your eardrums like deep water. Andy, Shane said, wiping his hands on his apron. Are you serious? The contract is void, I said, walking toward the back office. They violated our staff conduct policy and our booking agreement. I'm exercising my right to refuse service. I looked at my team, 25 people, cooks, dishwashers, servers. They looked confused but also relieved. They'd been dealing with Lance's attitude all week. Everyone gets paid for the full shift, I announced, plus hazard pay. Now clear the stations. I took the service elevator to my office and sat down at my desk. Everything in my hotel is connected. Lights, sound, AC, locks, all controlled from this computer. I called my security chief, Kevin. Former MP, solid as a rock. Kevin, I need a perimeter. We're evicting the grand ballroom. Evicting? Kevin's voice crackled over the radio. Hostile situation. I want 2 guards at the main doors. Suspend valet service. Bring all the cars around and hand the keys to the front desk. Nobody waits for their car tonight. Timeline? 30 minutes. Let them finish their salads. I'm not heartless. I hung up and turned to my monitors. Camera 1 showed the ballroom. Lance was laughing at something his best man said. Jessica was picking at her salad, looking bored. They had no idea that beneath their feet the gas lines to the kitchen had just been shut off. Camera 2 showed the contract. I highlighted the cancellation clause. The venue reserves the right to cease operations immediately if guests engage in behavior deemed abusive or threatening to staff. He called my Marine dead weight. He told me to eat in the kitchen. Game over. I picked up the phone and called the DJ booth. Hey, this is Andy from Ops. After your current set, cut the sound system. Tell them there's a power surge, but the speeches are next. Exactly. Pack your gear. You'll be paid in full. I watched the monitors. Servers were clearing salad plates. Normally, this is when the main course would start. 180 salmon fillets hitting the grill. Instead, the kitchen was dark and my staff was sitting on prep tables, eating the wedding food. Shane was slicing the beef tenderloin and passing it out to the dishwashers. It was beautiful. I saw Monica enter the ballroom on camera. She looked pale as she walked to the head table and whispered something to Jessica. Jessica frowned, pointed at her watch. Monica shook her head and pointed toward the kitchen. Lance slammed his hand on the table. Here we go. My phone buzzed. Text from Jessica. There's a problem with the kitchen. Fix it. We're paying good money. She still thought she was texting an employee. Still thought money was the universal solve button. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened the climate control app. Grand ballroom, current temp 72 degree F. Target temp 85 degree F. It's Texas in September. Without AC, a room with 180 people becomes a swamp fast. I wasn't just kicking them out. I was sweating them out. The door opened. Garrett walked in with the termination papers in his hand. You're really doing this, he said, looking at the screens. Staff eat in the kitchen, Garrett. Tonight the staff eat prime rib and the guests don't eat at all. She really got under your skin. It's not about Jessica, I said, adjusting the AC down another 2 degrees. It's about standards. Lance just failed his inspection. I stood up. Come on, let's go deliver the news personally. I walked down to the mezzanine balcony overlooking the ballroom, hidden spot behind fake ivy where lighting techs usually work. From here, I was a general watching the battlefield. The room was changing. You could feel it. The crisp air was being replaced by thick Texas humidity. Guests were fanning themselves with menu cards. The servers had vanished, leaving dirty plates like abandoned equipment. But the show was still going. The best man had just finished some rambling story about college. Now Lance stood up, tapping the dead microphone. Is this thing on? Thump, thump. Can we get some sound engineering? The sound guy was already gone, gear packed. Whatever, Lance sighed, holding his champagne glass. I want to thank everyone for witnessing my upgrade tonight. Nervous chuckles from the crowd. No, really, he continued. Jessica told me about her past, how she used to be held back by small-time partnerships that didn't understand her vision. I gripped the railing. He was talking about me, our catering business. Jessica had rewritten history to make me the anchor instead of the engine. She started from the bottom. Lance gestured to the room. And now look, we're here in this adequate venue, celebrating how true excellence always rises to the top. The crowd murmured. Insulting the venue you're standing in, bold move. Jessica, baby, you finally found someone who matches your ambition and your tax bracket. Here's to leveling up and leaving the past where it belongs, in the clearance section. He raised his glass. Jessica beamed like she'd just closed a major deal. As Lance finished his toast, the room went silent. Not the silence of awe, the silence of confusion. The band wasn't playing. No servers appeared. A guest at table 4 waved her hand. Excuse me, is it getting hot in here? It's sweltering, another guest agreed. Lance frowned. Jessica, tell them to fix the AC. And where's the main course? Jessica stood up, looking around. Server? Manager? No one answered. The floor was empty. I pulled out my radio. Kevin, lock it down. Below me, the main doors clicked shut. Not locked, fire code, but the magnetic holders engaged, making them heavy and obvious. What is going on? Lance's voice was rising. This is ridiculous. I'm going to sue this place into bankruptcy. I watched Jessica pull out her phone, probably calling that operations consultant. My phone buzzed. Jessica Crawford calling. I let it ring. The heat was rising. Sweat was appearing on Lance's forehead. The flowers were starting to droop. I texted Monica. Tell Jessica the owner needs to see her in the courtyard immediately regarding a contract emergency. Monica entered the ballroom from the side door. She approached the head table, leaned in and whispered to Jessica. Jessica's face went white. She looked at Lance, then back at Monica. "Now?" Jessica asked, loud enough for me to hear. Monica nodded. "Fine." Jessica slammed her napkin down. "Lance, stay here. I'm going to fire someone." "Fire everyone!" Lance shouted after her. Jessica stormed toward the side exit. It was time to come down from the mountain. I walked down the spiral staircase to the courtyard. Stone fountain, gas lanterns, jasmine, peaceful setting for what was about to happen. The door burst open. Jessica stormed out, her dress wrinkled from the heat. "Where's the manager?" she shouted at the empty space. "I want the owner right now!" I stepped out from behind the fountain. "Hello, Jessica." She stopped, squinted in the dim light. "Who are you? Are you the owner? Look, your staff is incompetent. The AC is broken and my fiancé is—" She stepped closer. The lantern light hit my face. She stopped breathing. "Andy," she whispered. "Hi, Jessica. How's the wedding? I hear the salmon is unavailable." "You." She looked around, panicked. "What are you doing here? Do you work here?" I laughed. Dry, sharp sound. "Work here?" "Look around." I gestured to the sprawling resort. "I don't work here. I own it." "You own this place?" "Every brick," I said. "Every contract, including yours." She laughed nervously. "Okay, Andy, good for you. You did well. But this is crazy. You can't shut down my wedding because you're jealous." "Jealous?" I repeated the word like it was foreign. "Jessica, you booked my venue under false pretenses to avoid commercial rates. Your fiancé just assaulted my staff. This isn't about jealousy, it's about liability. Lance didn't assault anyone. He's just particular. He took food from my hands, Jessica. Me, the owner, and told me to eat in the kitchen." Jessica went pale. "That was you? In the suit?" "That was me." She ran her hands through her hair. "I didn't know. Look, I'm sorry. Lance is under pressure. Let's fix this. Turn the AC back on, get the food out. I'll pay double. I don't want your money, Jessica. I already have your deposit. According to the contract, I keep it when there's a breach." "Breach? We're guests. Guests follow the code of conduct. You're now liabilities." The door banged open. Lance marched out, sweating, his designer composure completely gone. "Jessica, what's taking so long? It's a sauna in there. People are leaving." He stopped when he saw me. "You? The kitchen guy? What are you doing here?" "Jessica, why are you talking to the help?" Jessica looked sick. "Lance, he's not the help." "What?" "He owns the hotel." Lance froze, looked me up and down. "Him? This guy owns this place? Please, look at his haircut." I smiled. "It's a military cut, Lance. 20 years Army. And yes, I own the hotel, which means I own the ballroom you're standing in and the air you're wasting. You can't talk to me like that. Do you know who my father is? Does he know you're having your wedding at a venue owned by your fiancé's ex-partner?" Lance whipped around to Jessica. "Ex-partner? This is him? The catering loser?" "Hospitality entrepreneur," I corrected. "And yes, it's me." Lance turned red. "Jessica, did you know this?" "No, I swear, I used an agency." "You brought me to your ex's hotel?" Lance screamed, shoving her arm. "You cheap idiot! This is humiliating! It gets worse," I interrupted. "The wedding's canceled. Security is escorting your guests out as we speak." "You can't do that!" Lance shrieked. "I have rights!" I pulled the folded contract from my pocket. "Actually, you have a breach of contract. Multiple clauses. Basically, you broke every rule except no smoking." I handed the paper to Jessica. She took it like a death warrant. "You have 5 minutes to collect your belongings." "This is insane." Lance looked like he might vomit. "I'm not taking an Uber in a designer tux." "Then you can walk," I said. "It's a lovely night." Lance let out a scream of frustration and turned on Jessica. "Fix this. Fix it now, I think," I said softly. "Someone already beat you to that." I turned and walked back toward the hotel. Behind me, Lance was screaming at Jessica about lawyers and lawsuits. Back in the lobby, controlled chaos reigned. My security team was politely but firmly moving guests toward the exits. Outside, Jessica and Lance stood on the curb with their luggage. A police car rolled up. Officer Martinez got out. Evening, Andy. Got a call about a disturbance. Thanks for coming. Some guests refusing to leave after their event was terminated. Lance saw the police and ran over, crying actual tears. Officer, arrest this man! Martinez looked at Lance, then at me standing on my own property. Sir, the owner asked you to leave. That means you leave or it's trespass. One guest had started filming. The owner just evicted the bride. Lance lunged for the camera. Martinez grabbed his arm. That's enough. Taxi or jail. Lance grabbed his suitcase and dragged it down the driveway. Jessica followed into the darkness. The next morning, I sat on my balcony with coffee and my tablet. The video had 800,000 views. Comments were fire, legend moved by the owner. That's what you get for disrespecting veterans. Reservations were up 150%. We weren't just a hotel anymore. We were the place that didn't tolerate disrespect. Monica knocked with a grin. You have deliveries, termination agreement from Jessica's office, and a check for damages. My phone rang. Andy, 5 corporations want holiday parties here. They specifically want the owner present to maintain standards. Tell them yes. Price goes up 20%. I hung up and walked to the railing. Below, Wyatt was helping guests with their bags. He looked up, saw me, and snapped a sharp salute. I saluted back. Lance was right about one thing. Staff do eat in the kitchen. But he forgot that's where we keep the knives, and in my house we know exactly how to use them. More importantly, we know when someone deserves to get cut down to size. 7 years ago, I lost everything to people who thought respect was optional. Today, I run a place where it's mandatory. That's not just good business. That's justice served at exactly the right temperature.